Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm going to be checking out the GEPRC Sparrow. This is a premium 3-inch brushless model, and I use the word premium there because I know a lot of people are going to look at the price of this and think, wow, that is expensive. And yes, it is, but it's very good quality. Just holding it in my hands, I can see that the motors are just such good quality, and the magnets are so strong on this thing. It takes some effort to turn them around. So yeah, you could probably get a 5-inch model for a lot cheaper than this, but I think the 3-inch class is becoming important because it gets under that magic figure of 250 grams that we hear about all the time from the regulators. And this thing should be an absolute rocket. So let's look at the specifications. We've got GEPRC branded motors. They are 1408 and they are 3500 kV. So this is a 3 to 4S model. It's running 3-inch propellers. They are 3040. So quite a high pitch on there, which is nice. Actually, they're 3042, and those are also GEP branded. The propellers don't come fitted out of this little pouch that you get given, so yeah, nice little pouch there, and you should get that for this price. It does fit in with the propellers though, which is really nice. You get given these nuts here, and they are locking nuts. It takes a little bit of effort to get through the locking system. There you have to hold the motors down, and yeah, but not too bad really. So it's a True X and it's 139 millimeters. The frame, it's using 3K carbon and it is 3mm. So we've got a silicon pad underneath here for the battery. However, you aren't given a battery in the package. It's important to note. You are given this battery strap here, which you do have to feed through and put on yourself. I've taken it out of the package there. Now, it's using an XT30 connector rather than an XT60, and the majority of my batteries that are 4S that are suited to this size use an XT60, so I've got some options. So the quadcopter without a battery, it weighs 149 grams. With this Turnigy Graphene 4S at 750 milliamp, it weighs exactly 250 grams. But I don't really care about that figure. I can go 850 milliamp here, and that's gonna set it off at about 270 grams. And this is using a XT30 connector as well. So I think actually a good size for this was probably the 650 milliamp battery size, but I don't have any of those, so yeah, I'm going to be trying one of these 4S batteries for this flight. So we have got 28 amp 4-in-1 ESCs here, and they are flashed with BL Heli S. Then above that we have got what they are calling a PBF3 Evo, which would think, well, that's an F3 Evo. It's not. It's a Pico BLX, and there's a bit of a story behind this. So it's come flashed with Betaflight version 3.15. And my friend NJ Tech, he actually received his version of this before me, and he straight away went and flashed version 3.17 to it, because for the Pico BLX it ends at version 3.17, and actually NJ found this out. It changed to the FF Pico BLX as the target, but he flashed 3.17 and only 2 of his motors were working, and after about an hour's phone call we both came to the conclusion that they've actually messed around with the resources of this ESC configuration. If you look at the ESC board, then it's in sideways. You can see there that the solder pads there are at the front and the back. Usually you'd expect them at the sides. And it doesn't mention anywhere on any website that the resource has been messed with, but of course when you flash Betaflight, it wipes that resource. So luckily we both managed to find a website that gave the commands for the resource. So yeah, if you're wanting to update Betaflight, then I'll link to the page that shows you the resource, but just go into the CLI and type in diff and then copy that into a text document, and it will tell you the resource and you'll be able to update it. But I'm not going to do that, and the reason for that is they have put their own PIDs on there and the D looks really low at about 14. I want to see how it has been tuned and if it's any good, so I'm not going to upgrade. I'm going to leave it at version 3.15. Of course there's more features and better flight characteristics with version 3.2, so if you want to update it, then yes, remember the resource that has been changed. We've also got a buzzer here, and we've also got a VTX which is built into the stack. It's actually a 72 channel VTX, and it switches from 25 milliwatt to 100 milliwatt to 250 milliwatt, and that is all done off a little button there. And then we've got a little indicator here which I really like. So it is a short press to change the individual channels, then a couple of second press to go through the individual bands, which there are a lot of with 72 channels, and then a longer press. You've got 3 lines on here, so 3 lines is the full power, so 250 milliwatt, and 2 lines is 100 milliwatt, and 1 line is 25 milliwatt. This is the XM Plus version here, and it was really easy to bind. And we have these 2 nice antenna covers on there as well. We have a sleeve dipole antenna which is on a UFL connector, which is quite nice. So I'm going to have to be using my Bandicoot antenna with this one, which is a linear antenna. And then we've got the Runcam Micro Swift 2. It's important that it's the version 2 because for some reason we don't have an on-screen display in here, so Pico BLX doesn't have an on-screen display, but the Swift Micro 2 does have an on-screen display, and they actually give you the little controller here because it's just set up as the pilot name as Runcam. You have to dig out the little controller there to plug it in, but they have included that, which is nice. So yeah, a bit unusual really. I would have expected Betaflight on-screen display for this premium price. Not a deal breaker for me because we can still see the battery voltage on there, but things like your RSSI, etc., you're not going to be able to feed through because it's just the on-screen display of the Swift there. So as for Betaflight setup, yeah, it was really easy actually, because all of the modes and everything were keyed in already. I've only changed my rate to 0.8, and I've put my different auxiliaries on there. I did move them around a little bit, and I've upped the digital idle speed to 6, just because there is a lot of resistance here with these strong magnets. So I imagine if any motor could stop because the idle was too low, it'd be these, because yeah, loads of resistance there. Okay, so let's see what else you get in the package. Everything is in this little pouch here. We've got some stickers if you're into that sort of thing, and more stickers. Loads of props, absolutely loads, which is a good thing. And then this is where that strap was, and you get a second strap. Why do you get a second strap? Well, they are boasting that it can carry a GoPro session, and I just wouldn't. I think it's going to be too sluggish with a session on there. Best camera for this, if you want a HD camera on the top, will be a Mobius Mini. Otherwise, I think you're just going to spoil the performance of it. But if you want to put a Session 5 on there, you can. They have given you the strap, but I'm not going to do this in this flight. In fact, if you want to see how it performs with the GoPro Session 5 on there, Albert Kim has done a video with it on there. Albert, I hope you don't mind me mentioning your video there, but I'm not going to be doing that with mine because yeah, I think it's a bit counterintuitive. I think it's a little bit too heavy, so I would just run a Mobius Mini on the top there. So as for my FPV setup, I am using HD3 goggles with the Real ACC Pro Plus Diversity, a Onway Cloverleaf antenna. I'm actually going to switch out this antenna because it's a linear antenna. I'm going to be using the Bandicoot patch there, and of course I have connected it up to my Tyrannus here as well. So another thing that I want to mention really quickly is just this cage here. It is aluminum, it is aluminium, and it does seem really good quality. The solder joins here, the solder joins here seem really good, and we have got some straps around here as well. Just, yeah, really nice build, I have to say. And we can adjust the camera angle here. We have just a hex driver to adjust if I want to do that. Also got some angles on here as well. I'm not sure how useful that is going to be, but yeah, I really like the style of this. Looks like kind of like a gunmetal color. Anyways, I think that is about everything. Let's go and take it for a fly and see if it is worth the price. Okay, so before I go for a takeoff with this guy, I just want to talk about a couple of things. First of all is the camera. Now, when I was doing the initial review, I assumed that you could put the camera angle to whatever you liked, but that isn't the case, and that is because the casing here on the Micro Swift 2 catches on this aluminium part of the frame inside. It's kind of like recessed, so you can only lift the camera upwards, but that's a little bit too aggressive for me. So what I've done is I've moved the camera down a notch, so we've got these holes here, and now it faces probably at about 10 degrees, which is much better for me. The problem with doing that is you're stuck at about 10 degrees then, because the casing of the Micro Swift is then catching this standoff here. So yeah, but it's great that I've managed to figure out that you can have it lower, just not as flexible as I thought it was. We've also got some LEDs on the back which are connected to the DIN. So let's go for a takeoff. I'm starting off in angle mode because this is the maiden. This is a 850 milliamp 4S battery, 70C. And let's see what it's like. Feels zippy so far. Let's go for a punch with it. Wow. Yeah, so it's a crazy one. We have what can only be described as a 3-inch model performing like a 5-inch model on a 4S. And I dare say if you use the smaller battery, it would be even more bonkers than that. So let's take it into acro and see what it's like, because it has that custom tune on there and I'm not hearing any vibrations or anything like that, so I would say that this is a good tune. Only problem is it might work differently with version 3.2 now. But yeah, so far the tune's looking alright. I'm not seeing any vibrations or oscillations, anything like that. Now they say that it'll do 105 mph tested. However, they haven't said what battery that they did that on. I mean, if you stood at the edge of a cliff and threw it down it, anything could go 105 mph, couldn't it? But it still seems fast, and I may actually have a way to speed test these copters shortly, so look out for that. Yeah, the LEDs actually change with the throttle as well, so you might want to copy that from the diff if updating to version 3.2. Well, 3.2 does give some good features, but if this flies perfect on 3.15, I have no need to update. Well, the GoPro decided to cut out there, but I think we all know what the man was saying. Anyways, I'm actually glad that it cut me off there, because what I was saying wasn't correct. I was just sort of speculating how it was going to fly FPV, and actually the stock tune, it was all right, but there was some serious issues on the eye. In fact, one of the first tests that I do when I fly a new copter is I punch the throttle up and down very quickly, and the copter was pitching forward and backwards quite a lot. So yeah, it needed some work on the P gain as well, and a little bit on the D, and it needed the eye lifting up as well. So I'll overlay my PIDs here, and what I was saying there was, you know, if it flies nicely out the box, then I can't see a reason to update to version 3.2, but actually from my findings, you probably are best doing that. Just bear in mind the diff command there, because yeah, they have played about with the resource of the motors, and yeah, so you could be in trouble if you don't figure that out, but hopefully you'll find this video and fix your problem. So yeah, I got a really good tune out of this though on 3.15, and actually, you know, if you're not bothered about, you know, dynamic filtering and anti-gravity, then yeah, I was actually quite pleased. I mean, look at the power of this thing. It really is flying like a 5-inch model. Of course, I don't have a HD camera on there, but you actually can't tell the difference. I'm able to abuse it, give it full power. It does draw quite a lot of amps though, I will say. You'll notice on occasions the on-screen displays voltage going down into the 13 volts, but it never browned out. It never did flip of death or anything like that. There's a little bit of noise coming through to the VTX, but it's so small I could only really notice it when it was getting dark, which it was here. So yeah, that wasn't really much of an issue for me. The reception's really good. Of course, I'm using the Bandicoot antenna along with the Real ACC Pro Plus Diversity. It definitely makes a difference there. I was running just on the 25 milliwatt setting here, so you might get an even clearer picture if you want to bump that up. And it was pretty good with proximity. Check this out through the trees. Incredibly fast though, even with my angle being fairly low. And when you do have the angle of the camera fairly low, you can see that we do get some of the aluminium part of the frame in shot, but it's not debilitating. It's not too much at all. Just look how quickly this thing gets height, and that wasn't even full throttle. So yeah, I really like this thing can fly just like my 5-inch, and on a 850 milliamp battery I got exactly 4 minutes flight time consistently every time, which will do for me. So I think actually if you used a smaller battery you might have a little bit more punch, but I'd say go for the bigger battery and get your 4-minute flight time. Otherwise you're going to be reducing the flight time to like 3 minutes, I guess, if you go with 650 milliamp. But yeah, loads of air time with this. I really like it. One of my favourite models. It would have helped to have Betaflight on-screen display, especially with the tuning, because I had to keep going inside and plugging it into the computer every time. But yeah, I did get a fairly good tune, so if you want to use that, then be my guest. But of course, if you are putting cameras on it and things like that, and maybe only using a 3S, then maybe the tune won't be any good for you. But there you go, that is what I come up with. So there is my review of the GEPRC Sparrow. I'll put a link in the description if you wish to get one. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.